Guys, you're going to like this one. I'm really excited about this one. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 74th episode of the number one most downloaded podcast hosted by a Serbian guy on the entire DNVR podcast network. Welcome to the Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav, and I'm exhausted just from watching the Nuggets play 5 games in 7 days and traveling between each of them, so I hope the players appreciate my effort. Since my last show, we've seen them demolish the lousy Spurs in Ball Arena, despite Victor Wembanyama looking like a mantis among flies in that game. It was a great Michael Porter game, and I guess Jokić also had a 39-point Sombor double. It was the first game Aaron Gordon joined Jamal Murray in street clothes, and I don't have a lot of takeaways from that game. The Spurs are just a very bad NBA team right now. 24 hours later, our boys were already lacing them up in Los Angeles, facing the 4 Hall of Famers behemoth. Jokić was obviously frightened from the world champion Daniel Theis, so he rested next to Aaron and Jamal. Now, before the game, a friend of the show and one of my favorite guests, Siti Fazio, tried to speak into existence MPJ as a number one option, with all of the Nuggets' big three being out. My comment on that was that Reggie is a surefire first option and not Mike, not because I doubted Mike could do it, even though I kind of doubt it. It's because of who Reggie is, a very dynamic player who would have the ball in his hands a lot. Now, I did not predict that KCP and MPJ would combine for 6 of 27 from the field, and the Nuggets would still win. It was superstar Reggie and Michael Jordan who won it. DeAndre Jordan, I'm sorry, my bad. It was an all-time two-man performance backed up by some great minutes from Peyton Watson and Julian Trotter, so I'm pretty sure the Nuggets have a backup 5 solution against certain teams. 48 hours later, back to Denver, the Rockets finally came to our backyard. Peanut butter and jelly were back in the lineup, and the guy who benefited the most from their return was MPJ, who had one of his best regular season games. He ended up with 30 points, 10 rebounds, and for me, most importantly, 5 assists. It was so great to watch him being really comfortable with the ball and also hitting so many outside shots. But we know how big of an a-hole Jokić is. He had to eclipse that with 32 points, 10 rebounds, 15 assists, 8 of which were in the first quarter alone. Even though Jamal didn't play particularly well, it was a reminder game for just how amazing the Nuggets offense look like when they have almost all of their guys back. Another 48 hours later, the champs traveled to Arizona to face the surging Phoenix Suns, a team I called out as one of the teams that should be good but actually kind of suck. No Jamal, since he sprained his ankle in that Rockets game, so still no Aaron Gordon, and on the other side, no Devin Booker and no Brad Beal, who is still a Sun just in theory since he didn't play a single game this season so far. Reggie was back in the starting lineup, and Justin Holiday too. The first half of this game was just what Nikola dreams of. He only took 4 shots from the field, and he had 3 starters in double digits, plus Justin Holiday and Julian Trotter off the bench with 8 points. Needless to say, Nikola had 10 assists in that first half alone. At the end, 8 guys ended up with 8 or more points. The team ended up with 38 assists. Peyton Watson made Kevin Durant miss all of his 10 field goal attempts in the second half. So even a great game from Jusuf Nurkic didn't help the Suns win the home game. I loved Nikola's post-game interview where he mentioned how everybody was playing the right way. I also loved the hug between Nikola and Jusuf at the end of the game. It should just remind us that even though trolling other fan bases is fun, we should always keep it at that, since it's just a game and these guys are allowed to like each other. Finally, last night, another second night of a back-to-back, this time in the capital of California, and you really need to be a Kings fan to know that. Aaron was back. Jamal was still held out. Denver played pretty well, had an 8-point cushion in the first time Nikola took a break late in the first quarter, but then they were in an 8-point hole when he came back. Sacramento is not the team to play DeAndre Jordan against, especially on the second night of a back-to-back. Denver lost the minutes with him on the court badly. Minus 67.3 was his net rating in those 10 minutes he played. So Denver lost the game. Nikola was plus 11 in. They wasted his 114th triple-double. It was a scheduled loss, and we have to live with it. The Nuggets are now 14-7, which is a 54-55 win pace. Not bad considering how brutal their schedule was and how many games they've played without their second best player. All right, it is time to introduce my panel for today. First, a Serbian Corner debutant, but by no means an inexperienced basketball talking head. He has been one of the main editors of the official EuroLeague internet site for the past 20 years. He is the founder of the EuroLeague fantasy game and is a co-host of the Basketcast podcast together with 2019 FIBA World Cup champion Quino Colom. I hope your Spanish is better than mine, so you can follow his podcast better than I can. He's also a huge Nuggets fan, so welcome, Javier Gancedo.
What's up, Miroslav? I'm really, really happy to be here. I've been wanting to be here for a while.
I maybe my favorite thing about this podcast is discovering some pretty famous people that are Nuggets super fans all around the world. That's really great revelation for me. So tell me, when did you become a Nuggets fan, and for the love of God, why?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get it a lot. When I became a Nuggets fan, it was 1985, and there was no broadcast of the NBA in Spain, but we had magazines. And I liked a lot of things about the Nuggets. The players, Kiki Van der Weyck and Alex English and Pat Lieber when he came. And the fact that they were the team that scored the most points, allowed the most points. Remember, I was a 12-year-old kid. I was looking into these things. And, of course, the rainbow jerseys. I'm wearing this Mutombo jersey today. Mutombo wasn't in the team yet. And then I have this European culture that when you choose a team, you stay with the team forever. And through the 90s, it was, especially the late 90s, was really horrible. But now I've been rewarded. After 35, 40 years of following the Nuggets, I was there in the final for a couple of games. And it's like a dream come true. And also, I finally got to go to Denver in 2022. And seeing all these people with Nuggets jerseys, it was like an epiphany. It was like, I'm home. I mean, it's like I've been always from Denver. I don't know how to explain it.
So tell me, are you allowed to have a favorite team in EuroLeague as well?
No, not really. And my favorite team, everybody knew was the team from Sevilla. I'm from Sevilla. But the team changed hands and fired all the employees that I liked. So my top three teams of all time have always been the Nuggets. This team was called San Fernando, and of course the Spanish national team, which has been very successful. And finally, I got a little taste of what it feels to be a champion, and now also with the Nuggets. So I cannot really ask for more.
Yes, I agree with that. Okay, next up, another podcast host. He's this time from the BoxState Boys Podcast, and one of my favorite Twitter accounts to follow. Needless to say, he is a Nuggets super fan. It's Steven Zamora. Welcome back to the show, Steve.
Hello, everybody. Sorry. Glad to be here. Appreciate being here. Thank you so much for having me, Miroslav, again. I was going to try to come up with something cool to say at the beginning, but I just watched my Broncos lose this game inexplicably. So now I'm stunned and I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it feels like the Broncos just have to go down again so the Nuggets can rise up. It like coincided the moments Broncos were playing really good. That was the Nuggets slump at that point. I guess Denver cannot have too much happiness.
No, it's been like that ever since I was young. Anytime the Broncos are good, the Nuggets are bad. Anytime the Nuggets are good, the Broncos are bad. And like you said, it really showed its face last week with or a couple weeks ago, I guess, with how bad the Nuggets were playing and how good the Broncos are playing. So I don't know. Hopefully this means good things for the Nuggets.
So having said that, what surprised you more? The Nuggets' furious start of the season, 8-1, or the on the road slump that followed that 1-4 road trip?
Probably the slump a little bit more, just because we've had a pretty large sample size of games without Jamal Murray before, and it didn't look that bad. I mean, they came out, I think, 6-5 afterwards without him, but still, like, there was some really sloppy ball. It was just really bad play. That Houston game, I think it was on the 24th, was like one of the worst games I've seen them play in a long time. That was probably the most surprising part.
We will reference that game, even though it's not from this week, later on.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm sure too.
Last but not least, he is an absolute legend of the Nuggets internet, if I may say so. He's a guy I've been following from the very start of the Nikola Jokić era in Denver, and still to this day, the only winner of the steps on the DNBA show. I'm obligated to say that. I guess we'll have to wait for the next pandemic so somebody could challenge him. Calling from Austin, Texas is Connor Chill Ducey, or for friends, just Deuce. What up, Deuce?
Miroslav, no one does intros like you, man. Across all of the podcasts, nobody does intros like you.
Yeah. I think I'm happy with not having another steps champion if it means there are no more pandemics in our lifetime, at least.
Yeah, I'll accept not winning another steps to not go through another pandemic. That seems reasonable. Happy to be here, man. Love talking basketball with you, and it's great to meet Javi and Zamora via the internet. Zamora I followed for a long time, but I guess I was going to say, obviously, the Will Barton union is still going strong. I was coming into this season wondering if Reggie Jackson was going to be my player that I would have to stand up for, but I think he's played so well, I don't think I need to worry about that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's start with the show. Let's start with last night's game. So, Javi, I hate the back-to-back excuse. I just do. You remember better than me the old Eurobasket format where the teams would play 8 games in 10 days and nobody complained about the schedule. Then again, your superstars are playing for so many minutes and are relied upon more than ever. I believe the defense is more exhausting, because of the three-point revolution. So there's so much more field to cover. So I kind of get it. But were you annoyed with the way the Nuggets lost the game in Sacramento, or were you impressed by the fact they almost climbed all the way back at the end?
Well, I like the fact that we fought, and I've been looking around some box scores, and I see, and this is a trend, that when Nikola Jokić takes 23 field goals or more, the team is 3-4. When we overuse Jokić, we pay a price usually. And okay, we lost on the road against a very good team on the second night of back-to-back. There's nothing to worry about. But I like the way the team fought and fought until the end. And if it wasn't for, a couple of mistakes down the stretch, we could have competed for the game. And that's a good sign, I think.
Steve, were you annoyed by the way the game started against Sacramento?
Not really with how it started, because to see Jokić going off like that and being aggressive and looking for a shot, it's always fun to watch. Like, I love when Jokić is aggressive like that. I wouldn't say annoyed. A little bit more towards the middle of the game, it was kind of annoying just because it wasn't necessarily the Jokić stuff. It was more, I just felt like there was no defense being played. Earlier in the week, I said this a couple times, like they had skated by on a couple games just with no defense and just pure offense. And that'll work against some teams, but against a good team like Sacramento, that's not going to work. Sacramento can go down there and score almost every time if you allow them to. So I don't know. It just, to me, when they don't play defense, that's what's really annoying to me.
Yeah, Deuce, were you hopeful they will actually get it in the fourth quarter when they started their run?
I mean, I kind of coped going into that game, just being like, hey, we won one of these 2 games. Obviously, I kind of felt like it was a schedule loss. I think most people would say that. So I kind of went in like, hey, they're probably going to lose tonight. So I wasn't too pressed about the game. I mean, the Kings are a good team and they're fun to watch. So for me, I just kind of enjoyed the game, but just coping, being like, hey, it's a schedule loss.
Yeah. I have to say, I hate that. I mean, we all know it's something that it's present in the NBA. We just I just hope NBA finds a way to make all the games more competitive and like make every loss more devastating than what it is today. But it is what it is. So, Steve, Peyton Watson and KCP were the only guys with a positive plus minus outside of Yoke, and Christian Brown was a 0 there. It corresponds with the motion that the Nuggets lost this game not because of their offense, even though 109 offensive rating isn't stellar, and it's probably because of that horrible first half start, but because they couldn't get enough stops against a quick and offensively potent team like Sacramento. Is Peyton now in your circle of trust, or would you rather play Justin Holiday if the playoffs would start tomorrow?
So I think it depends more on the matchup, to be honest. I like what spacing Justin brings. When he's on the court, it's opened a lot more, gives more room to Yoke and Jamal to do their stuff, and AG to get in the dunker, stuff like that. So I do like that. I just think Justin kind of benefits a lot from playing with Jokić. So to me, Peyton Watson represents a higher ceiling. I think we're going to need that defensive ceiling in the playoffs. We're going to be going against guys that he's a good matchup against. You know, he did a great job against KD in that Suns game. He's a good option for those, good scoring wings when he's playing disciplined. And he's going to get better at that throughout the season. He is a gamble, but he's a gamble I'd be willing to bet on, especially considering the fact that the playoffs don't start tomorrow and they're going to start in April. We got a good 5 months here for him to ramp up and learn, to be a little bit more disciplined and, stay on his feet, play more solid and not gamble so much defensively and stuff like that. So, I think Justin is a good option off the bench if there is a matchup that P. Watt is struggling with or something. It's nice to have Justin there, but personally, if it was me, I'd be comfortable going in the playoffs with P. Watt right now.
So, do you also project P. Watt to be ready for these playoffs already?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, I think I wouldn't put him in my circle of trust just yet. Offensively, I think he's just so raw, and I mean, it's completely understandable. I mean, really, this is like his first season of high-level basketball that he's ever played. That being said, I love his skill set. We rarely have gotten wings with his athleticism and his sort of defensive tools around Jokić. So for me, I definitely want to see him playing because I agree. I have been very impressed with Justin Holiday, who, truthfully, I hadn't watched a lot, but just what I thought he was, I wasn't very excited to watch him. So he has definitely been a nice fit with the Nuggets, and I think really savvy pickup for the value of, just being a smart basketball player that can play with Jokić. But Peyton Watson, I love to watch. I think he's going to have nights with really questionable decision-making offensively just because that's skills he has to grow. But yeah, I agree with Steve. I would like to see him playing and gearing up for the playoffs. And I think there's a decent chance he can be a utility piece in the playoffs. I'd say like high chance that he will play a little bit. I would say lower chance that he's like a 20 minute reliable guy by the playoffs, but you never know.
Okay, so Javi, in Europe, coach is the highest authority in every team, but in NBA it's a bit different. Do you expect coach on court coach Jokić to discipline Peyton enough for these playoffs already?
Yeah, Jokić has been getting ready for this all summer. All this myth about not caring about basketball in the summer is not true. We kind of know it. He rests his body, yes, but we know he has been to seminars with the best Serbian coaches in in the country, like Zelko Obradovic, like Dusan Alempijevic, people that you know well, like Kokoskov, who also is on the NBA. So he's become better, and he's more of a coach on the court than he was before. And I think that benefits not just Peyton Watson, just benefits everybody. He knows their systems, the opponent's systems. He has all the game in his mind, and that's only going to be good news for Denver. By the way, I forgot to say a couple of things before. One is that, of course, Sacramento has an advantage when he plays with Denver. Is Jordi Fernandez, my fellow Spanish, and now Kings associate head coach. He knows everything about the Nuggets. He's been there for 5 or 6 years, and that's always going to make it harder for the Nuggets to play the Kings. And also, I mean, for me, working in the EuroLeague, following the EuroLeague for so many years, this term of schedule loss, I really cannot take it. And I guess it's the same for you, Miroslav. Schedule loss. I mean, in the EuroLeague, there's no schedule loss. Every game matters. That's our motto. And it's hard to really hear it, but it's true. It happens.
Yeah, and you know how much Mike Malone hates losing to Sacramento Kings, and now he has Jordi on the other side. So yeah, I guess the championship will not be enough for him to chill about that matchup in the future. So, Deuce, what the hell happened with the 3-point shooting in this game? And I'm not talking only about the Nuggets hitting their first 3 2 minutes before the end of the third quarter. I'm also talking about them only taking 25 shots from the outside. I remember I woke up to watch this game live at the beginning of second quarter, and there was already like a 7-0 difference in three-pointers made in the game. What happened there?
Yeah, six for 25 is tough. I mean, some nights you just don't have it. I didn't get to watch the Kings game as closely, so I would love to get your guys' thoughts on that. CT would say play Strother more. He'll get the shots up.
Yeah.
What about you, Javi? What did you see?
Well, I watched the game on tape delay because it was really, really late for my standards, and I also had EuroLeague until like midnight. But yeah, well, I don't know. Like I said, good knowledge from the opponent, and well, just kind of an off night because they also hit a lot of shots. I think they hit 16, 17 three-pointers in that game. So, well, I don't know. I guess that it happens sometimes. I mean, the team is ready to contest 3-point shots, and then you try to go for Jokić, and then Jokić takes 23 shots. And like I said, it looks like it's more probable that Lambert loses when he takes a lot of shots. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, Steve, to me, it looked like the young guys were afraid to shoot 3-pointers after seeing the starters not hitting anything. So maybe they thought, Coach Malone would be mad at them if they would just continue missing those shots.
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like they press a lot too. I imagine being coached by Malone is probably kind of intimidating for a young guy. He kind of has a history of like giving people a short leash and stuff like that. So I could see that. I just don't feel like they were hunting that shot very much. It wasn't like they were really going for a lot of outside shots. Like I said, it seemed like they were really trying to feed Jokić and trying to make that a big part of their game plan going into it. I feel like just it's kind of a compounded effect, right? You don't look for your shot a lot. And on top of that, like Deuce said, it was kind of just an off night. When they did go for their shots, everything bricked. And, and then another factor is, you see the starters missing, you probably don't have, the most green light to go out there and, hit as many shots as you can.
Yeah, I guess schedule loss compounded with bad shooting luck and lack of defense. So
and legs,
it is what it is.
A lot of short shots, a lot of overcompensating and taking long threes, and a lot of stuff.
Okay, let's take one short break and then we'll continue with another game. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back. we had the amazing performance by the bench guys in Los Angeles versus the Clippers. So there was no Yoke, no Jamal, no Aaron. KCP and MPJ shot horribly, 6 of 27. So that was a no-show from the starters. No problem. Reggie and DeAndre combined for 56 points, 18 rebounds, and 18 assists. Jesus. Justin Holiday got the start and was awesome. KCP was great on defense. Jay Straw and P. Watt off the bench with great energy and poise. There's plenty to say about the fake team the Clippers are, but what an amazing showing from the other guys. Steve, what was your main takeaway from this game?
That Reggie is that man, that he is that dude. If you remember, he had a game against Houston on the 24th where he scored 2 points. And people were calling for his head. People wanted him to get traded. They wanted him cut. Like, there was a lot of overreaction after that game. I was online on Reddit and Twitter arguing, for him. And he comes out a couple days later and makes me look good. So I loved it. He had more points than Westbrook, Harden, and Paul George combined. Like, out of the three out of the big four couldn't keep up with Reggie Jackson. So, it was a big game. It was cool. I loved seeing him. I loved seeing DeAndre get it going. Like, that was a huge deal. And now we got DeAndre in the rotation because of it. So, it was a big game for them guys. I think the biggest takeaway from that is that Reggie could be trusted. I feel like that was kind of a, I don't know what's the best way to put it, but it kind of gave me a lot more trust in him to be a good rotation guy.
So, Deuce, we'll talk more about Reggie and DeAndre in a second. Just tell me before that, what the hell are the Clippers?
Soulless basketball team. They're exactly what they've always been, which is not. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of sad. Like, I almost feel bad, but yeah, there's just no character there. I mean, it's just like you put a team together, you got to watch it. A team's got to grow together. It's a team. And I mean, James Harden, who, had an incredible career. I think he will be the best, loser of all time. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to have that reputation when it's all said and done. And it's just like, that's probably the highest level player I can think of in any of the major sports over here, is where it's going to be like a pretty negative overall view of him. So I think they have time to figure it out. I actually think Ty Lue, I know people are a little iffy on his performance. I feel like he's a good coach. So I won't be surprised if they get a little more competitive, but I just don't like the makeup of that team.
Yeah. I agree. So, Javi, this is an interesting angle. So, in EuroLeague, you usually don't have a lot of guys that will play more than 28 minutes per game. You usually have bigger rotations in the teams to keep the intensity of play high throughout the game. So, I'm guessing you were not surprised by the other guys stepping up and showing their true face.
No, and I think it's very good news that Jackson and DeAndre Jordan had such a great game, because like Zamora said, I mean, right now, all the doubts that we could have about Reggie Jackson are gone. I mean, this guy belongs to the rotation. He can lead the second unit even, and that's great news. In the EuroLeague, no, you don't really get to see players play more than 8 minutes in a row. There are exceptions. Some guy, for instance, Nigel Hayes-Davis, plays in Fenerbahce. He plays over 30 minutes per game each game, but that's like I said, an exception. Like the biggest teams, like Madrid, Barcelona, Olympiacos, they play their guys, I think, are up to 25, 26 minutes. That's the way it goes. Also, it's 40 minutes per game, not 48, so it makes sense.
So, would you say that Reggie is the most potent scorer the Nuggets have had in Jokić era coming off the bench?
I would say, well, Brucey B last year. And I would say, I think that Will Barton.
I just made Deuce mad.
Yeah. No, but I mean, he was a part-time starter when Jokić
He's
arrived, right?
he's a starter. He doesn't qualify.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but I mean, Reggie Jackson right now has been a part-time starter too. I mean, he played more or less the same number of games off the bench that Will Barton did early when Jokić arrived. So, but I would say that Reggie Jackson is potentially the best scorer that Jokić ever had off the bench.
Yeah, so Mike Brown after the game said actually that Reggie Jackson is in fact a starting point guard that is just right now in a role of a backup point guard. Steve, do you believe that he could start for a good team right now after what we've seen this season?
For a good team, I think he would fit with like Orlando. I think they need a good point guard like that can really score and stuff like that. So, I mean, the Clippers showed that they could have used him. Yeah, there's a couple good teams I think he could have started on. You know,
Phoenix maybe.
Phoenix, yeah, they definitely need a point guard. Yeah, I think he could start on a few good teams. It's not. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say like Reggie Jackson's one of the best point guards in the NBA or anything right now, and like he's definitely one of the best starting point guards, or he would be one of the best starting point guards. But I think, he'd be serviceable for a lot of teams that, could use some scoring punch and, a little bit of spacing and a bit of playmaking.
What about you, Deuce? What is your feeling regarding?
Well, I think you have I think your question's a great question because I think he probably is. I feel like the other two I would have in there would be Malik Beasley, who is more of a shooter. But when he had big games, that would usually mean a Nuggets win, a fun Nuggets win, or Bones. And I mean, I think Reggie's better than Bones. But yeah, I think you got to look at the Reggie signing. It's just fantastic. I mean, I know when I got the notification, I was a little surprised. But then looking at the numbers of free agent signings, it's like we needed a scorer. We needed a guy that could handle the ball, which is still a weakness on the team, I would say. We needed a ball handler that could create, and Reggie, compared to the other free agents, I think was probably the best one you could get for that price. And so home run signing, I mean, I think he is a great backup guard. So he actually, someone tweeted this, I forget who, and Voya will be mad at me, but I mean, to me, he's it's like a juiced up Monte, because he's got that little floater. I think Monte's thing was he needed to ramp his usage up, in my opinion. And I think Reggie is more willing to shoot. So I kind of like his fit in the pick and roll. I've been impressed with him.
Yeah, Reggie has been scoring in bunches, and this is what you need off the bench, or even with the starters. He really bailed out the Nuggets several times this season. But another guy that had a great game here was DeAndre Jordan. That was a vintage game from him. So do you feel more confident about the backup 5 role in the regular season after what we've seen from DJ in that game, or did the last night game pour water on that idea?
I think good question, huh?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I hate to just be mean, but I think it just makes me more frustrated with the backup big situation, because I think like if you just had a competent athletic big, pick and roll work with that backup unit, and I don't think Zeke can do that. And I think they put a lot of faith in Zeke, and I think they're not going to be rewarded. DeAndre, I don't think he's a guy you can rely on every night. But I mean, he deserves a ton of credit for that game. He was awesome. Like when he threw the behind the back pass, I was going dummy at the house. Like I was going crazy. So yeah, I would say, I would say let's play DeAndre a little bit. Like, let's see how it goes. But he's not a guy that can play 15 minutes a night, I don't think. So I think if anything, it's like, hey, if you get a athletic rim running big with Reggie, that can work. It's just DeAndre's just might be a little too old to do that reliably.
So Steve, I actually think that DeAndre can play in almost all of the games if he plays perfectly. He played the Clippers perfectly. He didn't make a single mistake against the Clippers. He didn't miss a single dunk against the Clippers like he did against Sacramento. So that's not a very wide margin of error for him, isn't it?
No, but I don't know. I don't know if he really needs to play perfectly. But he does need to do his role right. Like he needs to perform within his role. He just needs to be himself, right? He just needs to be able to go get them lobs, play some good defense, communicate with everybody, kind of captain that defense in the back line, get guys in the right positions and stuff like that. He's a veteran, so he should be able, his voice should matter with those guys. And just, set good screens. One thing this is driving me nuts. Zeke will not set screens. Oh, it gets on my goddamn nerves. Every single time he touches the guy's shoulder and runs away. Like I've said this on my own show a bunch of times. Like it just drives me nuts. If Zeke can set screens, that's going to change a lot of stuff. But DeAndre sets good screens. If he just fills his role the right way, what we have him here for, I think he'll be serviceable. Can we get another big who, can fill all those roles that Deuce was talking about where, you're athletic, you can get a lob here or there. I would love somebody who can handle a DHO a little bit, and it's somebody who just has screens and just does the big man work, just does the normal big man. Yeah, just does the big man stuff that a big man's supposed to do. I think that just would make a huge difference.
So, Javi, after what you've seen last night, or today probably because it was too late to watch live, would you play Zeke or DeAndre next game and consider it's the Clippers again?
Well, first, the minute that Mason Plumlee is in the market, I will go for him. I mean, I think this is the player that we've missed. I mean, okay, the Nuggets have been champion. They improve a lot, but he played the perfect role for Denver. He could play with Jokić, without Jokić, set pick and rolls, finish above the rim. He was perfect for that role. And he hasn't been, playing well even since he left Denver. So if he's ever available, I would try to trade for him. Let's say that. Then now, I agree. Nagy pops a lot. He doesn't set good screens, and now, I mean, in the end, DeAndre Jordan was All NBA first team 6 years ago. I mean, he knows how to play. He's played this role like cracking jokes on the bench and everything, but the guy can play, and I would play him over Nagy, of course.
Yeah, what Steve said about his screen setting, like maybe he'll get to it in his 6th season. This is his 4th season in the NBA, and we still complain about his screen setting. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure if that train.
I'm still waiting for the day I see a good screen from him, man. Like I keep a specific eye for it when I'm watching. Like Zeke's in, let's get one good screen in here, Zeke, and I'm still waiting.
Okay, on that note, let's take one more short break and then we'll come back. Okay, we are back. Deuce, let's jump to the Houston game now. I mean, this is just a backdrop to ask you about the players. Why do you think Houston is such a tough matchup for the Nuggets? By the way, we'll see them in 2 games again for the 4th time this season. Are they just good, or is it something else?
I think 2 things. I think their coach is very good. I think obviously his track record speaks for itself, and they're playing hard for him. And then I just think they have nice defensive talent. You look at Eason, you look at Tate. I'm drawing a blank on one of their other wings, but they have nice defensive talent, and they would play like the in-season tournament game that we lost to them. They were just playing their butts off. I mean, they were just playing very hard, competing. And that's one of those things where, I'm in Texas, so I have a couple friends that are Rockets fans. So I'm happy to see a franchise that's really been in the dirt, putting a product out there that you can actually watch. Why are they a tough challenge? I think it's just a little bit of the length, and I think it was just kind of effort based. I want to say is kind of the big takeaway I had from the game, that they really gave us trouble. It was just I don't think the Nuggets were up for it, and I think they were playing it very high intensity level.
So, Javi, do you think the Nuggets are not ready for the kind of defensive intensity Houston is ready to show in every game?
Probably at this time of the year, no, but the Nuggets basically won the NBA Finals on hard defense. So I guess it's a process. The team is playing offensively really well, and defensively will catch up eventually. So I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, this team, for some reason, they won 3 in a row. I mean, remember that game late in the regular season last year that everybody was freaking out about because they were basically playing the G League team and we still lost with our starters. But I mean, we got the win the other day, and I mean, we should get another one this week. We'll see.
So, Steve, yeah, the next game will also be in Denver because they've lost the first 2 in Houston. So, do you think Houston might be a playoff or a playing team this season already with the veteran guys they've brought in for this season?
That's funny. I was actually going to ask you guys the same thing. I was going to see what you guys thought on that. Personally, when coming into the season, I had them as like my league pass team, right? Everybody has like their league pass team or whatever. Last year mine was Orlando, but this year I'm like trying to keep a close eye on Houston just because I think Ime is a really, really good coach, and he's like exactly what Houston needed. They have a ton of talent, like Jabari Smith Jr., Jalen Green, Şengün. Like these guys are like talented, you know, and they just seem like they didn't have any leadership. You know, they felt like an AAU team. But all that to say, like, I personally didn't think they were going to make the playoffs this year. I didn't think they were going to be as good as they are this year. But if you do look at it, like they have been home for a lot of games this year so far and have hardly any away games. And they're a young team. And that's kind of like the calling card of a young team, you know. You play good at home when you have all the energy, when you have the crowd behind you. And they're, you know, I think that's what they're benefiting from the most right now. I think they're like a play-in team at the end of the day. I still want to see some growth from Jalen Green or either Jalen or Jabari to see who's going to be Şengün's real number 2 over there. Or even any of the other guys, honestly. Like, if any of the other guys want to step up the way Alpi did this year, man, like, I think that's a really good team. But, you know, as far as this year, I think, you know, they're probably a play-in team. They're probably going to go around 500.
So, Javi, we mentioned the game Nuggets lost to Houston in the in-season tournament. Is it just the difference, the fact that they were home then and now they were away, so that was a completely different game? Is it because Jamal was back in the lineup? And also tell me, how do you feel about the in-season tournament so far in the first season in the NBA?
It's hard to say because it depends on people's motivation to play. Because, in Europe, we have 2 domestic competitions, the League and the Cup. And the Cup is usually similar to the in-season tournament. Actually, they down route copied from European basketball. And people tend to not to overthink, okay, like if you don't make it to the Cup, if you don't win the Cup and you win the League, everything's forgotten. Like, it looks like the only team that actually cares and the only one that actually gives value to the Cup, to the in-season tournament, is the team that wins. And everybody else, well, let's say, okay, let's focus on the league and forget about this. And this is what I think is going to happen. Like, the winner will give it a lot of, importance, let's say, and the losers will forget quickly. And I think that's the best thing that the Nuggets can do. Like, not care about this. I think it's just an experiment, let's say, so far, and move on and try to win another NBA title. By the way, before I forget, also Houston played 17 games, less than any other team in the West. At some point, the schedule is going to be crazy for them, and now they're going to pay a toll for that. And I think, if I have to bet, they won't make it to the playoffs or to the play-in.
Steve, what did you think about the in-season tournament so far?
I love it. anything to bring more competition. This is usually the dead part of the season. This is part, that even like the most devoted NBA fans are like, I might skip that game, So I think it's great. The players seem to have really bought in. It seems like a lot of the players have really, said like, this matters. We want to win this, which is cool because it's like, these are the most competitive people on the planet, to see them be like, no, I'm gonna win this. I want to prove that I'm better than you on this night. I think it's a smart move by Adam Silver. I even pulled up, so I got in the stats for it in November. They averaged 1.48 million viewers across ESPN and TNT, up 19% from any comparable Tuesdays and Friday night games from November of last year. So it's working. People are tuning in. They're checking it out. The court, I think, is like, they're wild. Like, let's be honest, like these courts are wild. They're loud. But it draws eyes. It draws people in, even when I'm like making clips about, the week previously, like I do a little segment on my show where I clip together, the biggest plays throughout the week. And it's just like eye popping. Like you just like immediately you see like the bright red court or the bright blue court or whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, in-season tournament game, Like I just think it was a genius move. I think Adam Silver really knocked it out of the park with that one.
So, I don't really care about the viewership because it's the casuals that are, getting on the bandwagon in November. But I really like the increased intensity of the games we've seen. I mean, in a lot of games we've seen it. What was your impression of?
Nuggets are out. It's Mickey Mouse. Don't care. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for like a test run to see where your team's at. Like, hey, then we're going to lock in with quote unquote playoff intensity. So I think it's cool. I thought the Nuggets played really well. And then Jamal got hurt. So, I mean, it is one of those things where, for the Nuggets, kind of unfortunate timing with the injury and then a road trip. I mean, they essentially were on a 5-game road trip for two of the in-season tournament games. So that's just kind of like, I mean, to me, I would assume other teams had more favorable moments with that, but unfortunately didn't fall in the Nuggets' favor. But it was cool, so I'm happy with it.
Real quick, sorry. I do want to say too that another point I wanted to bring up too about the in-season tournament is one cool thing about it is that teams who aren't necessarily like primed to make the playoffs and stuff like that, this is a really cool opportunity for those guys to get these experiences, like do or die games, games that actually matter and they're intense and a whole other level of competition, right? So that teams like, a San Antonio, right, they can get that kind of experience before they even ever have to go into the playoffs or anything like that. I just think it's really good for like the development of these young guys. And just, like you said, the casual fan, right? You bring more casual fans. It's more beneficial to everybody.
Yeah. I have one idea for the in-season tournament that will never fly because it would be a nightmare to schedule it. But I would actually make it a real cup. No group games whatsoever. Just like you have 30 teams, you would need 32 to have an actual cup. But let's just give 2 top teams from the cup this season a bye in the first round, and then just do the complete cup. And every game is a knockout game, and I think that would be even crazier. Yeah, Javi.
How about bringing 2 EuroLeague teams into the mix?
I mean, that would even make it even more complicated. I would love that. But imagine if EuroLeague teams would start winning and you have to bring them back to the US for game 2 or game 3. That would be a nightmare to schedule. Yeah. I was thinking maybe about the 2 top, NCAA teams to be included. I don't know. EuroLeague, that might be tough. Maybe if they would start like on October 5th or something like that before the season and just ramp up use it instead of the preseason games, which are dumb anyway. I don't know.
Yeah.
My men's league team will do it.
There you go.
Excellent. Okay, let's take one last short break and then we'll finish off this show. Okay, now let's go to the San Antonio game. And Javi, you had the chance to watch Wemby up close in Europe and even talk to him a couple of years ago. Can you tell me a bit about him from firsthand experience and what we've seen from him in San Antonio? Was it something that you expected?
I had the luck to talk to Wemby when he was 17, pre-season before he played as Veld in 2021-22. And I interviewed him. We talked for a little while. We spoke for like around 5 or 10 minutes. And he was, what surprised me that he had both feet on the ground. He said, look, I know about my abilities, but I know that if I don't work hard and I don't improve my body, let's say, I'm not going to go anywhere. And I think he took the right steps also, not playing a second year league year because it was really tough. He had a really hard time in the year league when he played. So he went to play only one competition, and he said no to the Eurobasket, and he got ready to be who he is right now in the NBA. I even gave myself, I mean, I should have done it, but I couldn't resist myself to give him some piece of advice. What I told him is, don't lose what makes you special. I mean, because for instance, when Pau Gasol went to the NBA, he could go like dribbling behind the back, throwing assists, running the ball. Running the court with the ball. And he lost all that in Memphis because he was pushed to the center spot to just take jump hooks. And of course, Pau Gasol is a legend, but I think he could have been much better even if they let him play the way he played in Europe. With that in mind, basketball has changed a lot. And of course, now Wemby has more freedom to do whatever he wants. Well, I mean, that's what I was kind of obliged to say to him, like, this is what I expect you from. I mean, just do what makes you special, because otherwise you just be one of other, let's say, one Kristaps Porzingis, who is a great player, but it's not I mean, it's not what Wembayama can become. With all due respect to Porzingis, who by the way is my friend, and I don't want to piss him off.
When I think about his fragile body, I think it's really good for him that he is in the NBA now and not in the EuroLeague, because EuroLeague game is pretty physical. Do you think it's a blessing in disguise for him just to start his professional career really in the NBA?
Some players are meant to be in the EuroLeague, like Kristaps and like Wembayama, and some players are meant to be in Europe. They're more, for instance, Jabari Parker is playing really well now in Barcelona. His game is more out. For instance, I think Kevin Durant is one of the few players who could be great in both leagues without having to adjust. But that's an exception. The way the game is played in Europe has nothing to do with the way the game is played in the NBA. And it's beautiful. You have to play different leagues, and if you can follow both and appreciate the good things on each league, it's great.
And don't remind me, back in 2014, Serbia was dominating the World Cup, and then Kevin Durant came in and scored like 40 on us, and he just could have, shoot from anywhere, and it was all wet. So, Steve, were you excited to see Jokić versus Wemby for the first time? Wemby had 22 and 11 in only 25 minutes. And how do you project that duel going forward?
Yeah, that was one I was looking forward to for a while, since I saw, pretty much since I first ever even heard of Wemby. I was like, man, I can't wait to see him, how he impacts the game against Jokić, and, what kind of stuff Jokić could do against him and stuff like that. Yeah, that was for a team that's only won, I think 3 games, that was one game I've had circled. As far as the future, I think Jokić is too strong. He's just, too much of a big body for him. I think, it's going to be years before Wemby's, big enough, strong enough to be able to really keep Jokić off of his spots. And I don't know. I don't really have any real data or anything to back this up, but I really feel like Jokić does a lot better against like taller, longer guys than he does against like shorter, like stouter guys, like strong guys that can kind of get him off his spots and stuff. And, honestly get away with like fouling because they're smaller. So I don't think Wemby's prime is ever going to be hitting at the same time as Jokić and his really. So, I kind of feel like Jokić is going to always kind of big bro him. And Wemby, once Wemby's in his prime, Jokić will kind of, we'll just be like, oh, Jokić is getting old. It's not a big deal. Wemby just sent his shot to the third row, oh, well, it's all right. Jokić is getting old. It's okay.
I'm just gonna clip this. Jokić is getting old, and
Yeah.
and put hate on you. Deuce, welcome. Jokić welcomed Wemby with his season high 39 points, I believe, which is kind of crazy since his average on the season is 29 points. Talk about consistency this season. Can we take a moment to talk about a guy who is now 4 total assists under the 10 per game average? He is at the moment leading the whole effing league in total points, total rebounds, total assists. Adam Mares put out his mildly hot take that Jokić is getting better since he's now not only leveling up his own game, but is also super engaged in leveling up his teammates, especially the young ones, by constantly coaching them on the court. There's no doubt that he is playing his best regular season basketball right now. His box plus minus is 15.6, for God's sake, after a quarter of the season. What do you think he's improved at the most to be able to deliver this kind of basketball?
Yeah, it is funny with all the Nuggets discourse. I mean, you almost forget about Jokić sometimes because it's just so expected. But yeah, end of the day, it's a blessing to watch the Nuggets any night because we're getting to watch Jokić, even if some things make you want to pull your hair out sometimes. I think Adam said it on the pod last night. I mean, I think you got to look at the shot attempts. I think he's made a choice to be a little bit more aggressive mindset wise, which is really interesting. Why he's done that. I think, maybe it's like the Larry Bird thing where he was like, I'm going to play lefty. It's like maybe Jokić is kind of like, hey, let me try out this style of play right now and see how I feel doing this. Maybe it's just he's more comfortable doing that now after the playoff run, but I think that's the main thing. I think physically he still can get it. We've seen him in better shape than he is right now. I think defensively he's played better than he's played so far this season, but that's to be expected, not really a criticism. So I think physically he can get better. And then I think he can shoot. I think he's a better than a 30% 3-point shooter. I mean, to me, for him, it just kind of comes back to focus. Like sometimes I think, shooter mindset, every shot's the same. You have to be focused. And I think sometimes Jokić is kind of like, I don't really want to take the shot, or like, I'm not happy with how the offense is being played, so I'm going to throw up a 3. And I feel like if he focused, he should be close to 40% 3-point shooter, but sometimes he just throws them up. And again, I mean, I'm never going to, I'll criticize him, but I'm not going to really care at the end of the day because he's too good.
So Javi, do you think Jokić took time during this summer to check the advanced stats and to see that he is actually shooting 70% in the floater zone, and he just said to himself, okay, I'm going to shoot 15 of these next season, because what else is going to be more effective than that?
I think so. Like I said, he's studying the game a lot, and that's what is making him better. And it's so amazing to see him play. I mean, just not from the standpoint of a Nuggets fan who has been there forever, and now we're champions and competing for another title. It's just a delight to see him play. It's the fact that my favorite player is my favorite team. This is something that I never saw it coming, and it's great. I mean, and he gets better and better. Tactically, he's better than ever. He's scoring more points. He keeps almost averaging double digits in assists. I don't know when he's going to reach his prime. I don't think he has even. We have seen the best version of Jokić. He keeps getting better. I mean, what's it's a cheat code, really. I don't know how to explain it, really, and it's great. I mean, like Du said, let's enjoy the show and keep going. It's great.
So Steve, we are waiting for Jokić to start plateauing at some point, but we don't want for it to happen in the next 3-4 seasons. Imagine the heights he could catch there.
Yeah. He's incredible, man. He is a whole other level of player. I was too young to really remember Michael Jordan. Like I've seen, I remember his Wizards games. I don't really remember too many of his Bulls games. I seen Kobe. Had my heart broken a lot of times by Kobe. Seen LeBron. But as far as peak, this is up there, man. This really is like him and maybe 2013 LeBron are like the greatest peaks I've ever seen, man. And the only reason I even would have Jokić or even have LeBron up there with him is because of LeBron's impact. But Jokić just does so much more stuff offensively. Like he helps his teammates get so much better. It's crazy that every year we kind of have a nitpick thing, right? We're like, oh, 1 year we're like, oh, Jokić, wish he would score more, and then he goes out and scores 27 a game. Last year I remember people being like, oh, I wish he was more of a leader, more of a vocal leader. And then this year he comes in and now he's calling plays. He's just making plays up. He's
reading the Twitter, man. He's reading the Twitter.
Yeah, it's crazy. He just every single season, I really don't even know what to say anymore. I don't know what. People questioned his defense, and in the playoffs last year, he was a very good defender. It's just every year, man, he just keeps getting better. I don't, like Javi said, man, I don't even know where it goes from here. I don't see any more nitpicks from anybody. I don't see anybody criticizing him at all anymore. I just where do you go from here?
I'll find a way. I'll just criticize the shooting.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Come on, Jokić, get it together, man.
Yeah,
get 45% from three, man.
No, I clashed with some really batshit crazy people online today. So there are some guys that are still telling us that his stats are nothing because everything is inflated and this is the worst kind of NBA basketball ever.
A stat pattern.
So, yeah, it's just that the whole league is stat padding actually, according to these guys. So yeah, what you gonna do? Okay, for the very end, Javi, would you like to promote something before we leave?
Not really. I mean, of course, the EuroLeague is out there for everybody to see. We're having a great season, and it will peak in May with the Final Four. I started another podcast about the EuroLeague Fantasy Challenge, the game I created 20 years ago, and we have around 250,000 teams this year. I think it's a record. And I don't know. Shout out to the only two Spanish who wore the necklace jersey, Juan Hernan Gomez and Rudy Fernandez.
Yeah. What about you, Steve?
So I've got BoxState Boys Podcast. We drop every Wednesday. It's not really sports related. It's just comedy stuff, or it's pretty much just me and my cousin shooting the shit and talking about all the stuff that interests us. This week I think we're doing an episode on Dragon Ball Z. So just stuff like that. And then I just started a new basketball focused channel on YouTube called Talking BS, where I put together clips and then I kind of review the week that we just had and preview the week ahead. And then my cousin's got a streaming platform that they're starting out of the BoxState Boys network right now. So a lot of stuff coming from us right now. A lot of hard work. But yeah, hopefully some good things in the future. Keep you guys entertained.
Excellent. Deuce, do you want to plug something?
I don't have anything to plug. Javi, Steve, great to meet you guys. BoxState Boys is the name. Goes really hard, bro. So congrats on that. And Miroslav, you're an absolute legend, just a gentleman and a scholar. So
yes, he is.
Fun to talk Nugs today. And everyone listening, love you guys.
Thank you very much, guys. All right, that's all, folks. That'll do it for this week. A pretty successful one, 4-1. Thank God our guys are getting several days now to heal up and rest. And until next week, I'll leave you with one. Idemo Nuggetsi.